Hi everyone, welcome back to Sally's Take. I thought this video was going to be a little bit more serious, but to be honest, I just finished my finals, so I don't really want to do heavy research yet. So this video I'm doing a 9 film recommendations for my fellow introverts. I specifically target introverts because I am a self-proclaimed introvert myself. I value my time alone to recharge energy. I prefer staying in than going out. I abhor being the center of attention, and God forbid the small talk conversations and big crowds. You get the gist. I also think that good introverted characters in films are hard to come by and underappreciated. But if you're not an introvert, then just continue watching this video anyway, because these films are super fun and I think everyone will enjoy it. So we're starting off strong with a childhood classic, Shrek. If you don't know, Shrek is about an ogre who made a deal with Lord Farquaad to go save Princess Fiona in exchange for his swamp back, because his swamp turned into a refugee camp for fairy tale creatures after Lord Farquaad have drove them away from his kingdom. Who would have thought that Shrek is political? I bet you didn't expect to see Shrek on this list because you might be used to more quiet and shy introverted characters, but Shrek is quite the opposite. He is the representation of the more outspoken, assertive, and to be honest, quite crude introverts. He loves his boundaries and his peace. I mean, he would rather fight a dragon than sharing his home with a few people. That is like peak introvert behavior, and I think everyone would enjoy this film. I watched this film a few years ago, and it's probably one of the most relatable films for shy introverts. It's painfully accurate. It's basically about this 8th grader, Kayla Day, who is shy, awkward, super quiet, and introverted at school, but she has a secret YouTube channel where she is more expressive and makes inspiring life advice videos. It can't get more silly than that. She ended up really trying to fit in to the point where she risked her own safety, and she was trying to be someone else she's not. The Double is about a mediocre, socially awkward guy named Simon who is overlooked at work and does not really dare to approach the girl he has a crush on. But one day, a guy named James, who is basically a more assertive and confident version of Simon and looks exactly like Simon, shows up at work and slowly takes over his identity. I think this film is really interesting, and it makes you think about how far you are willing to compromise your true nature, because in society there's always this threat that there is someone who is kind of like you but more interesting, more hardworking, and more conniving, and you can't always play nice, be quiet, or fade into the background, or else you will lose opportunities in your life. It's the type of film that really makes you think about your existence in a very trippy, depressing, or witty way, depending on your current mental state. So I'll put a trigger warning here because it contains some depressing and suicidal content in it. But if you're in a healthy mental state and want to ponder on society and your existence, then I would totally recommend it. Hunchback of Notre Dame centers around Quasimodo, who is the bell ringer of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. He was an orphan who was adopted by the guy who takes care of the cathedral, Judge Frollo. Quasimodo longed to interact with the people outside the church, but because Frollo manipulated him to think that he would not be accepted because of his appearance, Quasimodo became scared to join society. One day he met and kind of fell in love with this woman named Esmeralda, and Quasimodo had to come out of his shell in order to save her from the evil Judge Frollo. A good Wes Anderson film for introverts, I would say, is Moonrise Kingdom. It's about a coming of age of this orphan Boy Scout named Sam who fell in love with a troubled girl named Susie. They decided to run away from their problems together and created their own little world of peace. But the adults in their lives and their friends kept chasing them back to reality. I think many of Wes Anderson films in general are fun for introverts because they focus a lot on building this beautiful, quirky little world with even more quirky characters that you just can't help but feel like you're being transported into a made-up world for a while. About Time is about a man named Tim who discovered that the men in his family can time travel. He chose to use this power primarily to find and be successful in his love life. However, his time traveling has its limits, like all time travelings in films do, and he soon learned that he had to live his life to the fullest because some moments you just can't go back and relive it. This movie will make you want to appreciate the little things in life every day, and I think it will be really good for an introvert finding love because, I don't know, the two main characters' relationships just seems very nice and they seem like introverts, and the movie is very chill, funny, but a bit sad at times, and I would highly recommend it. Scissorhands is probably another classic. It's about a human creation named Edward who, you guessed it, had scissor hands, and he was sort of adopted into this suburbia family. Edward is really good at gardening and giving fancy haircuts, so the town people were kind of flocking to him and he kind of gained fame from that. He eventually fell in love with the daughter of the family who adopted him, but some people got jealous at Edward, tragedy struck, and that's really all you need to know. In the film, Edward is definitely a very eccentric, few with words kind of character, but his personality and his work spoke for itself. I think it kind of reminds me of a lot of introverted people I know in life who are very quiet but are very talented and sweet. And I think a lot of introverts will be able to relate to Edward. Amelie is a French film that is very heartwarming. It's about a woman named Amelie who discovered a treasure box in her apartment. From then on, she decided to secretly help the people around her neighborhood to have a better life. She's definitely a very quirky, quiet character with a heart of gold, and I really enjoy watching the way she thinks and the way she tries to solve the problems for the people around her, but sometimes she focuses on helping others so much that she forgets to live her own life. I think it is a very unique film, so you definitely have to give it a watch. Lastly, I have got to give it up for The Perks of Being a Wallflower, one of my all-time favorite films. It is about a boy named Charlie who was just starting high school, and he met Sam and Patrick, who are seniors, and they kind of adopted him into their own group. In this movie, Charlie dealt with a lot of mental issues and dealing with just being a teenager. I feel like this movie is a love letter for introverts because at times introverts can feel like they are not good enough, but this movie really makes you appreciate the quietness and the observative nature of introverts and remind you that the right people will find you, will appreciate you, and understand you. So that is it for my 9 films for my fellow introverts. I feel like I'm not really good at giving movie recommendations because I don't really watch that many movies, so it may be a little bit generic, but I still like making these videos and I have fun compiling it. If I missed any of the films that you may think are good for introverts, then please let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.